Yeah, we're ready for us. Okay, we're going to call to order the Stillwater Economic Development Authority meeting of August 13th, 2012. And the first thing on the agenda is the consent docket with 2 items. Does anyone wish to remove anything from the consent docket?
No, sir.
Is there a motion on the consent docket?
I move to approve the consent docket.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket. And that passes 3-0, and that takes us down to general orders. Update on requests for proposals for the branding.
Okay, I don't know that we've, I've talked a great deal about that here at this session, but we have at CDAC, which is our multi-agency economic coordinating council. We talked about the possibility of doing having a consultant do a branding study. It's kind of a misunderstood term. Some people, when you say branding, they think, oh, well, all you're going to do is develop a logo. It's not about developing a logo. Our new economic development director at the Chamber, Eric Miller, was quite excited about it. It's one of the tools that economic developers, both Angela can use, Eric can use, CDB can use, OSU can use. The point is that there are so many entities in our community that want to either promote economic development, or promote events in our community, or promote visiting our community, promote living in our community. And it's proven that cities are more successful, and all of its organizations are all successful, if we're all describing and promoting our community the same way. We need to all have a common understanding of what is vital and important about Stillwater that we can promise to the world, and when they get here, we can deliver that to them. And I always like that. Branding is establishing a promise about your community, that when people come to your community, you can meet that promise. And I think it takes a lot of time, and there are companies who come in and will meet with the council, meet with citizens, meet with the chamber, the CBB, the schools, all organizations in our community, and they're professionals are trying to glean what is it that makes this community so special. I think we all know what makes it special, but sometimes you need help in putting that together in a planned marketing package. So anyway, I have developed a request for proposals, and Sherry Fletcher has helped get it out on the website and other forms, and we're getting a ton of companies interested, companies from all over the United States. I've even had one email from a company in Kenya, Africa, that was interested in making a proposal. The deadline is the 19th. I really expect that we're going to get several. I expect maybe a dozen. I will set with form a staff committee, and I'm sure some of those will not be on target with what we're asking about, but I do hope to get down to a group of less than that, less than 5. And at some point, if we can, we'll probably work with CDAC, work with the Chamber, and trying to get it down to a couple of viable proposals. At that point, and we probably ask them to come individually and make presentations to a joint group of the council, representatives from the Chamber, from OSU, the Stillwater Industrial Foundation. I've suggested to those entities that maybe we could jointly fund this. At this point, I don't know what the study would cost. Looking at other studies in cities our size, it's probably going to be around the $100,000 mark, give or take. Hopefully be a little less than that, but until we get the proposals, we don't know. So there's no commitment at this point, but if we do happen to find a proposal in a company that CETA, this group, the trustees are comfortable with, the Chamber's comfortable with, OSU's comfortable with, CDAC reviews, then we would come back with recommendations to appropriate the funds. We would be the lead agency. Hopefully we can get some financial support from our partnering agencies, but that's a little premature to talk about the cost and the financing at this point. But the deadline is August the 19th to get our applications. We will start staff review of those shortly after that. I'll let everybody know how many proposals we get, where they're from, who gave them to us, and keep you updated on the progress. But it's exciting. We've had some very well-known firms who that's all they do. 2 or 3 of them, all they've done for years is to help communities identify their descriptive marketing package called branding. And it's not in and of itself doesn't make us successful, but it gives us a great tool to work with to go out and market our community. So it's look forward to the proposals, and we'll report back to you on that. But I wanted to give you an update on where it was. It could be something. It'd be hopefully the other thing that it does is it really, as a rule, when you get all the community talking to each other about what's good about our community, what do we want to promise people about Stillwater, I think it builds a little community pride, a little bringing the public and groups together, and when we work together, we get a little stronger. So that's the objective.
What I like about all the interest from outside, from these national firms, such an important element of this is what is the impression our community leaves. And when it's us talking, we're a little too close to the trees sometimes. And so getting that outside perspective, I think, is going to be very beneficial to really kind of put a good mirror up in front of us to see what we look like to the outside world. I think that'll be very beneficial.
I've thought about it. I can't prove this. My opinion is if we had advertised a few years ago, I think we'd have gotten less response. I think in recent years, the publicity and the growth of OSU, we've had surges in growth in our community, our economic development program, bringing an international aircraft manufacturing supplier, OSCO, to our community. I think the success we've had with downtown and our economic development program has drawn a lot of attention, not just locally, not just statewide. I was surprised a couple of weeks ago, the Journal Record from Oklahoma City came up and did a great story on the Business Improvement District. It was picked up by the Associated Press, and that story has run in Florida and California both, in some newspapers that have interest in college towns and what works in their economy. And we're getting some nationwide recognition. I think companies who pay attention to that kind of thing, when there's work to do for a community that's progressive, that's where they want to come and work. Yep. So I think it all interacts. And so it's kind of fun.
All right, so 19th is when the requests are due?
Yes.
Got it. So is that kind of a September back here?
Yeah, it would be at the September meeting. We'll report, yes.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Okay. Development prospects.
Okay, I'm just going to ask Angela to kind of give you a general update. We'll probably get into some more specifics later.
Angela McLaughlin, Economic Director for Consumer Business Development. And I'm just going to give a brief overview of some of the things that we've been working on, a little bit of updates around things that are happening in the community and some future plans. One of the questions I'm going to ask a lot right now is about Jimmy's Egg, and that process continues to happen very slowly. It looks like it's picking up speed now, but at this time I don't have an opening date. But the reason I bring it up is because we've had so many phone calls and interest in this particular restaurant. I don't know if it's the visibility, but people are excited about Jimmy's Egg, so that's a good thing. We also have a new restaurant that's working through getting open at Colby Plaza. It's a Japanese restaurant. I don't have an open date for that either, but that's something you might put down and be aware of. It's opening just down from the new Beverage Mart, the Red Rock Beverage Mart. So we're excited to see another restaurant go in on that side of town. Our inquiries continue to pick up, and it's always fun and interesting to see what we get. We have continued interest in grocery store chains here in town, which is good. Of course, Aldi's had their soft opening today, and it went very, very well. I'll talk a little bit about that more when we get down further in the report. Still have a lot of interest in fast food chains. I think that's good and bad. As a college town, I think that's something that's always going to happen no matter what we do. I'm hoping that we'll also see the fast casual side of that and maybe more of the upper end restaurants. Hopefully with the new developments, they'll want to locate in those projects also. Excuse me. Developers, we've had, of course, meetings with our people that want to locate out on the west side of town, our 40-acre development. But we've also had some local developers here in town that have been interested in finding small acreage pad sites for mixed-use development, which is always a good thing. In fact, we've had a couple of meetings with some local developers here that there might be, possibly some things we can do for them down the road, just like we would do for anybody that comes into our town interested in doing a development project. Some things that have been happening in my office, again, working with these fast food restaurants, trying to find locations. They're seeing what's happening on the west side, so I think we're almost like in a holding pattern. They're anxious to see who's going to be the first person that takes off out there. They're looking at other locations here in town also, but right now I think everyone's really excited to see what's going to happen on that west side. A few things happening downtown. I'm sure you've noticed that the Elite Repeat building has been closed for remodeling. They are remodeling the upstairs for apartment residential, which is great. We always like to see that continued growth in residential. They moved next door to the Sharps building, which was vacated, but it worked out very well because there was some significant structural repairs that had to happen in that building, so it was nice that they had that option next door. We have been in contact with the owners of that property, so when Elite Repeat moves back over, we're hoping to help find a new tenant for them. Right now, they're not in a hurry, but we are going to continue to send leads and work with them and hopefully find a good match. Again, we talk about the 40-acre site on the west side of town. Mr. Galloway and I had a chance to meet with those developers when we were in Vegas. The meeting went very well. A lot of interest in Stillwater. Without naming any names, I'll let Mr. Galloway do that. The talks are going very well. What's interesting to me is as much demographic information as we've sent and we've provided, they're really interested now in the story that's not being told about Stillwater. So some of the things that we've provided to them is about, for instance, our Stillwater group and some of the things that they're doing, the job growth, the bonds that we've done, the hospital growth, just things that you don't know when you read any kind of census report. So to me, that's very interesting, and that's a positive thing. They want to know more about our community. When we talk about the growth of ball fields, whether it be soccer, softball, or baseball, those are the kind of demographics that shop at these stores. So when they see that we're investing in our community like that, they get excited. They know their demographic is here and will spend money at those places. We continue to visit with them. We'll provide any information they need. A big hats off to Development Services. Paula Dennison had the chance to meet with those guys this week, and it has been just right on the ball, providing any information that they need. So we'll continue to try to help and provide whatever we can to make that process easier. On the north side of town, the My Dentist facility, clinic, dental office, whatever you want to call it, opened up. I believe that was last week that they had their grand opening, or was it Monday? Monday. So that went over very well, and now there are no available pad sites at Lakeview Point, which is a good thing and also a bad thing. As Mr. Galloway will also share, we are in desperate need for spots for junior retailers. We don't have anything really available at this time. That's why the new developments are so important for Stillwater growth. We have to have spots to put them in when they call. I would love to be able to send them to available locations that fits in their business plan, but right now we just don't have a lot of availability. There are a few contractor or developers that are looking on the north side of town that have a few pieces of property under contract. So hopefully we continue to work with them and see if we can get some more things to develop out that way. Openings, I talked about Red Rock Beverage Mart. Kay's Jeweler opened up. I believe they opened up last month. The Aldi's grocery store soft opening was today, and it was very interesting. John and I had a chance to go out and see that, and they had a line around the wall, which surprised me because it was a soft opening and really wasn't advertised that much. But people were so excited to welcome that grocery store in town. And again, hats off to Development Services. Their district manager mentioned that Stillwater had a very business-friendly environment, and it was one of the easiest communities they've ever worked in to get their store open. So I was glad to hear that and wanted to pass along those compliments. I think that it just shows that when we say we're open for business in Stillwater, we really mean that, and we're going to stand behind that promise. This is also from Development Services. We understand that Aspen Heights is 100% leased, and they're looking for additional property to build a similar project, so that residential growth is also positive for the development side that I do. And one of the things that I'm working on that I think will be it'll be interesting to watch how it happens downtown. We're going to do a commercial open house for our property owners. Our target date is in October, and this really came about. I had a meeting with Blake Ewing, a Tulsa city councilor, a month ago, and we talked about what else can we do in our downtown? How else can we make it more attractive? And we talked about the incentives and everything that we're doing, all the great programs. And he said, wow, you guys are beating us in all of those. You're so far ahead of the game where we're at. So I took that as a compliment, but then I was stuck. What else can we do? Because we want to keep making sure that our downtown is everything that it can be and attractive to investors. So after some brainstorming, we decided to do this commercial open house. So basically one night, we're going to have an open house for any available property. It can also be residential, where investors, visitors, whoever wants to come can walk around, meet with the property owners, learn about the building, enjoy the evening. We're partnering with the chamber. They're going to help us host this event. So we envision this interactive event that people can learn about our programs and meet with bid representatives and development services and myself and really sell downtown as a whole. It's not just about that particular property, but why do you want to be in downtown Stillwater? So I'm really excited about this event. I think that, of course, like any event, the first time or two, it takes a while for it to get that steam to really make it impactful, but I'm very excited about it and think it could be pretty neat for us. We've had a lot of interest, as Mr. Galloway said, in through media. The Journal Records has been very, very good to us. They continue to look for stories and are really excited about everything that's happening in Stillwater. Local media has also taken a great interest. So if there's anything in your mind that we need to focus on and to talk to them about, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to share that. And a lot of civic groups have also been calling us and wanting to know what's happening in the development world, which is always fun to talk about. Less about parking complaints with downtown and more about what's happening. So that's my report. If you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer those at this time. As we get closer to the downtown event, we'll be more than happy to share that information. We're just now getting everything kind of put together. Okay?
I'm kind of excited about the open house. It's a different type of open house. Again, it's for bid district properties, and hopefully with the owners working with us to have owners available at each of their property locations, whether it's one of the buildings that's been vacant for 20 years or whether it's a blank piece of property or a residential area, anything in the bid district, and to have a central location, as Angela said, and let these people go and talk to the landowners or their representatives about these properties, we think could be very valuable. Angela and our bid coordinator, Amy Jo Fraser, working together on this. Sherry Fletcher is doing some of the marketing, and to have the chamber and Lisa Navrakal working with us, it's a real unified effort, and so we're pretty excited about that. One of the, I just thought I would throw in, when, and it's ever so true, Angela was saying we have so many commercial interests in our community that want to invest here, but they're looking for a site. They're looking for a pad site. They're looking for a piece of property that's ready to build on. And these companies don't always do that themselves. They expect developers, landowners to have things ready. And so we're really trying to work with local landowners. But it really brought to mind a point related to something the City Council's talking about in our bond issues. One of the nice things about the proposal at Wimber Lake is that it would create those kind of pads for a couple of restaurants, for some small restaurants, for possibly some specialty shops, small recreation type of based activities. That kind of an investment, to have those kind of spots ready to go, makes it really, really much easier to develop more quickly. So but you can't just put those anywhere. You got to have location, and I think that's one reason we talked about the water. That's an excellent location. So if we run out of room in one area of town, we'll find some other prime areas and go for that. So anyway, I just, everything that's been happening is really positive, and just wanted you all to have a chance to hear that. So.
Wonderful. All right, thank you. Okay. Next, we have a request for executive session.
A request for an executive session pursuant to 25 OS subsection 307 C10 for the purpose of conferring on matters pertaining to economic development, including the transfer of property, financing, or the creation of a proposal to entice a business to locate within the city of Stillwater, because public disclosure of the matter to be discussed would interfere with the development of products and services and would violate the confidentiality of the business.
Wonderful. Okay. Do we have a motion to move to executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second to go to executive session. That passes 3-0. We'll be back.